KurtzPel, the anime MMO we've been waiting for all year. Wait, it is an MMO, right? Oh crap, scrap that. It's actually listed as an anime-styled action battle game, so I guess kind of like S4 League? From what I experienced, it's actually more comparable to something like S4 League than it is to something like Dragon Nest or Soul Worker, which is more than fine. We need more original games on the market, and this is a fantastic addition to it. Nevertheless, I still see people referring to it as an MMO. Now, unfortunately, I never made it into the closed beta, but I was relieved when I was reached out to by KOG Games, offering to sponsor a first look at the game during its beta, offering both my wife Mrs. STIX and I beta keys to jump in and take the game for a spin. Otherwise, yeah, no bueno. Now, if you want to join us for their next beta, don't be afraid to click the link in the description and add it to your wish list. So, I got in game and was greeted by one of the best animated openings to an anime game I have played yet. The quality, it was beautiful. Like legit, if they made a KurtzPel anime series, I would watch that. Especially with how dark the atmosphere felt.
여보, 첫째를 데리고 빨리! 네 놈인가? 커츠펠과 내통한 자가 폐에서 내리신 세상에 혼돈을 가져오는 자! 커츠펠과 내통하는 배교자가 분명합니다! 배교자의 심판을! 전 모르는 일입니다. 제발 살려주십시오! 배교자 주제에 목숨을 구걸하다니 부끄러운 줄 모르고! 오지마! 정화하라!
Kinda gave me Attack on Titan feels, just a little bit, but it sets up the story quite nicely. We're apparently some weird demonic spawn referred to as a KurtzPel. The bad guys want to murder us because, well, we're essentially the chosen one and will bring about their demise.
우리의 새로운 희망.
It's me, Mario!
I mean, it makes sense. When you're the dominant force in the world and your existence as you know it is threatened, naturally you'd want to do whatever you could to hold on to what you have. So, you know, can they even really be considered bad guys? Yeah, that's quite the dilemma and a very tough question for you guys. When beginning your journey throughout KurtzPel, you're given quite a unique way of going about your character creation. You're prompted to fill in a simple questionnaire that determines your character's personality and customization options. You can freely change your personality at any time during the character creation process, and each personality type provides different hairstyles, faces, physiques, and demeanor. I ended up on Genius, cause, I mean, naturally. WIGGY ended up as a healer, my wife Mrs. STIX ended up as supporter, or, wait, maybe WIGGY was supporter and my wife was healer? Oh, nah, man. I forgot. Finally, WIGGY's boyfriend got advisor. This provided an interesting group dynamic. I was the mastermind behind everything we did. Eve was able to advise me on how poor the decisions I made were, to no avail, mind you. WIGGY tried to heal through my poor decisions, and my wife Mrs. STIX? Well, you know, being the faithful, devoted waifu she was, she supported me as best she could. Character creation in the game, though, was superb. I wish the game provided the option to more freely customize your character's face, though, but your characters are perhaps the most beautiful I have seen in an anime MMO. Being able to adjust their height, their weight, the actual style of their body, basic facial features like their eye style, their brows, pupils, and overall skin color made it possible to create something pretty unique, especially once you reach the hairstyles. KurtzPel actually provides players the ability to edit the front, the back, side, and tail end of your hair, making it possible to heavily customize your hairstyle. Adding on to that is the fact that you're capable of coloring each individual hair slot, providing even more customization. I'm not really a fan of highlights in hair, I guess, as I'm more fond of things matching, but I did see a lot of people that took the time to take advantage of this. Finally, and most importantly, you have the bust and hip size. You can make your girl hella thick or teeny tiny. You know, unless you're a guy, in which case, it sucks to be you. He looks shocked over something. I see why. I guess, you know what? Never mind. She turned out perfectly. There are 5 total classes in game as of right now. Each class is referred to as a karma, with the game allowing you to equip 2 simultaneously, providing the ability to swap between them mid-combat. I opted for the Greatsword Karma, the Sword Telaima, because I love huge swords and I'm a melee fighter at heart. The other 4 karmas are the Longbow, Dance of the Wind, the Staff, Diabolic Witch, the Gauntlet, Blazing Fist, and finally the Dual Swords Karma that is, as of currently, unreleased, I believe. The combat was really nice and smooth though. You had your basic combos at the top right of the screen, the gameplay flowed nicely, and the special effects were probably the best I'd seen in an anime MMO. If you want something flashy, then that is what you get. The game has 2 forms of play currently, PvE and PvP, like most MMOs. PvE has you dive into instances like Soul Worker or Phantasy Star Online 2 and fight large bosses to progress through the story, learn more about the world you inhabit, and unlock new karmas, outfits, and more. Story-related quests are solo but repeatable with a group and can honestly provide quite a challenge, especially as a close-range melee fighter. At times, I honestly felt a little bit like a punching bag for the NPCs I was fighting. PvP, like PvE, takes place inside small instances and actually pits groups against one another. While it's easy to get overwhelmed due to using inferior karmas or lacking the required skill, the PvP is exhilarating and it actually provides an opportunity for players to test their skills against one another. Honestly, I just wanted to play the Gauntlet Karma, but from what I could tell, if you weren't playing the Witch, then you were pretty much screwed. They absolutely destroyed me every time I tried to fight them, and honestly left me with regrets playing melee. Alas, that is the life of a melee in most games. Get kited to oblivion. Every encounter is either prefaced by a cutscene or followed by a cutscene that introduces the game's primary characters. Some of them are actually pretty entertaining, while others are just cliche and cheesy. But that doesn't equate to being a bad thing, it's just not something I've found outside of solo games. Most MMOs, or online games even, don't really provide much personality to their characters outside of the odd line here or there that makes you chuckle, with the exception of a few good ones like WoW, Final Fantasy XIV, or Guild Wars 2 as examples. So seeing a game like this ported over that actually has personable, relatable characters is promising for the story. And let me tell you, there was a ton of story. I spent a solid 30 or so minutes of my first 2 hours recording just story. The other hour and a half was just dying repeatedly to bosses, but I don't want to talk about that. Thankfully though, I am a huge lore buff, so that was very enjoyable for me. Now I spoke a little on combat earlier, but I wanted to elaborate on it a little more here. It can be very, very difficult. The story missions, as I mentioned, are solo, meaning you can't do it, at least initially, with friends or other players, so progressing through the story means that you're required to do it alone. The same goes for the unlocking of karmas. You must complete the quest to unlock them along with the characters associated with them by yourself. However, once you manage to overcome those encounters, you unlock them for playing multiplayer, which is honestly where the fun comes into play. While yes, I had a lot of issue as the Greatsword Karma actually failing one of my missions, and while that was frustrating because that Ganondorf looking dick just beat me senseless, tackling them again with my wife was far more satisfying.
주된 마법사의 거처를 침입한 것이 너희들이냐?
Quick side note, yep, I know you guys will play for the plot just like I no doubt will be. The bosses were actually several times more powerful, had several times more HP, and required a little more coordination, especially if one of us were to get murdered like you are seeing right now.
I've fallen, and I can't get up!
Although we only tested a few bosses out, the amount of fun we had greatly increased once we could play together, because playing with a friend, a loved one, you know, it's just so much more fun than playing alone. So at the end of the day, KurtzPel, it's a unique semi-MMO, MMO light, mini, massively multiplayer online MMO, I don't know. Either way, it's a very unique game that is probably the most aesthetically beautiful anime-inspired game of its kind. I had an absolute blast in game, and I'm glad KOG reached out to provide my wife and I beta keys to try the game out. We would have missed out on this otherwise, and you guys wouldn't have been able to see how fun the game is, especially if you're a fan of hub-based MMOs. Again, if you want to play the game, then we got a link right to it in the description. so don't be afraid to click it to be forwarded directly to the game. Anyway guys, that is it for me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more goodness like this, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.
Oh, hey.